It is with humility and a sense of responsibility that I address you today, following my appointment as Administrator of Rivers State by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. For decades, I have dedicated my life to the service of our great nation. First, as a member of our armed forces, where I had the honor and privilege of serving as the 20th Indigenous Chief of the Naval Staff, and more recently, as Nigeria's High Commissioner to the Republic of Ghana. After what I believed to be my final retirement from public service, duty has once again called. I have answered not for personal ambition, but out of an abiding commitment to the peace, stability, and prosperity of Nigeria as a whole, and more specifically, Rivers State. My appointment comes at a difficult and consequential moment in history. The political impasse of nearly 2 years in Rivers State has paralyzed governance, desecrated democratic institutions, threatened security, and undermined the economic and social fabric of the state. It has deepened divisions among the people and cast a shadow of uncertainty over the future. These are realities we cannot
was the Rivers Sole Administrator. Now to look at the appointments of the local government administrators despite the court injunction. We're joined this morning by Mr. Samuel Nwanosike. He's the chairman of Ikwerre Local Government Area and Commissioner for Environment. We'll be joined as well by the Commissioner for Environment, Tambari Sydney Gbara. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll start with Mr. Nwanosike and talk about your first reactions to the appointments that have been made by the sole administrator. Some have asked if it was done in good faith, if it was necessary, and there are others who have also criticized the fact that there was a court injunction refraining this from happening. But let's get your reactions first with Mr. Nwanosike, and then we'll go to the Honorable Commissioner.
Okay, thank you very much for allowing me to be part of your show this morning to educate Nigerians on the current happenings in our state, Rivers State. First of all, looking at the headline to this program, I think you're not properly informed. It will be right you put the proper perspective, because as we speak, there is no federal high court injunction barring the sole administrator from appointing sole administrators at the local government level. That information is wrong, and I challenge anybody to say the contrary. What happened was that some interested Rivers people like Nigerians went to court, maybe in speculation, maybe they had a whispers of what the sole administrator was intending to do to bring peace and tranquility to Rivers State and to return governance in Rivers State, because like you know, Supreme Court in the ruling said from October 29th, there have no been government in Rivers State due to the crisis that occurred at the legislative arm of the government. And of course, you know, the democracy we practice is a constitutional democracy, and they have to do with the three arms of government. So when once one arm is being destroyed and barred from working, then it shows automatically that there is no government. This is a very third matter because the Supreme Court has said so. So I want to appeal to you or your producer to please correct the narrative that the sole administrator of Rivers State did not, despite any compromise, to appoint sole administrators. And to answer your question properly, I don't think that the sole administrator has committed any breach. Because, like you know, Rivers State is made up of 20 local government areas, and him alone cannot sit in government house to attend to the affairs of the 334 wards in Rivers State and 20 local government areas in Rivers State. For instance, since his assumption, It has been difficult to attend to the environmental conditions of our state. Our state has been littered with refuse. A lot of issues have been calling for attention. And I think it should be in good faith for the sole administrator to seek for hands by his own choice to look at those who can be able to assist him achieve this peace. Like you know, Mr. President, after proclamation, had to write to the National Assembly to get the two-thirds majority agreement and assent for the emergency rule to go ahead so that the crisis that was supposed to rock the states would be averted. And we as a people want to commend President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for stepping in promptly. You know, a lot of people wouldn't have known what would have happened in River State if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has not stepped in for the uprising, because this is the third time he's stepping into this reverse crisis. Remember, he had the first time stepped in when Mr. Governor complained to him. He had the one-on-one with Mr. Governor and the Minister for FCT. And after that time, I had another time he intervened. That was in December 2023. When I had the opportunity of being part of the delegation because I was serving local government chairman that was forcefully sacked from office. And Mr. President called over for us in the villa. And Mr. President said it clearly before the former governor of River State, that this is the second time he's intervening in this matter. And that he's shocked that all the advances he gave to Mr. Governor was not adhered to. And that he's giving the governor the last chance to go back and make peace with his people. And that he is also advising the governor that it can never be possible for Mr. Governor to operate a legislature managed by just 4 persons, a speaker and 3 others. And it should never happen in this democracy. In fact, it's an embarrassment to democracy. And that he's pleading with him not to allow him with the big stick. In that meeting, Mr. President took his time to allow the former governor to read out the 8-point agenda, which among all those 8 points had the critical position of withdrawing the impeachment notice that was already read, who has already read 17 days, on the governor that was served on the governor, and asked all of us to go back home and make peace, and that the governor should reconcile with all the parties he has offended, and we should go back like a family.
All right.
And as far as we are concerned, we came out from that meeting happy and like a one body, but we were shocked when we flew back to Port Harcourt. We had people mount rostrum in front of Government House gates, men who were not state actors. For the very first time in the democracy of River State, we barricade the entrance of Government House with podium. One former or illegally elected local government chairman, and his co was sponsored by the then Chief of Staff, Ellis Mehi, mounted the rostrum and called Mr. President up with all unbreakable names and asked him if he was from River State. We didn't even stop at that. Mr. Governor sponsored some elders of River State to go to court against Mr. President, challenging the legality of the 8-point agenda. So Mr. Governor now came out and simply confirmed when he came back from one of these trips that all the governor have said we are all just a political solution, there was nothing constitutional about it, and that there's no law binding him to adhere to that, that he just respects Mr. President, but that he is going to shock those who believe that he's a weakling, that he's going to make sure that he teaches them a lesson they will never forget. So that's where we are. So as we are concerned, we thank Mr. President for intervening the third time, because like you know, an impeachment has been served on the governor, which has begun, and we believe that nobody's above the laws of Nigeria.
All right, as quickly as you can, do you have evidence, Mr. Nwanosike, do you have evidence that, Mr. Nwanosike, can you hear us? Do you have evidence that the governor was the one who sponsored them? Can you back up that claim? As quickly as you can, before I move on to Mr. Honorable Gbara.
It's actually back up that claim.
Do you have, you had said that, you talked about the people who took the president to court and you said they were sponsored by the governor.
Of course. The governor sponsored them.
How do you know that what we're asking?
Was live on several media, which your studio has with the contents, and said clearly that they are Rivers elders and they belong to Pendes, and that they will never allow that eight-point agenda stand. And Mr. Senator has never denied that he would not sponsor. And the governor, in his statement, reconfirmed that the eight-point agenda was just a political solution. It was not a constitutional solution, and there is no law asking him to obey such a resolution.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nwanosike, for...
All adults who go to school, we know the right of the law. So
all right, Mr. Nwanosike, thank you. I want to bring in Honorable Gbara, if I may interject at this point. Please, I want to bring in Mr. Honorable Gbara to the conversation because you have said that there is no court injunction. And I want Mr. Gbara, first of all, to react to that and maybe let us know if he toes the same line and believes there's no court injunction. We have a report here that there was a motion ex parte filed on the 28th of March, and it sought several reliefs, including an interim injunction restraining the respondent and his agents from making such appointments. Now, this was filed by the Pilex Center for Civic Education Initiative, led by Courage Movu against the sole administrator in his official capacity. And this was granted by Justice Adamu Turaki Mohammed. So, Honorable Gbara, can you please help us with some clarity? Is this maybe false information that we have here? Was there a court injunction? And what is your thought about, or what are your thoughts about the administration or the appointment of the sole administrators?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we have said it all. It is there in white and black. It is there in the public domain of that proceeding and that very injunction. And the entire Nigerians know what the truth is. And it's quite unfortunate that in Rivers State today, we have been taken back back to the colonial days. Rivers State has been ripped completely of every institution, every structure, anything that has to do with democratic institutions, that were in place. And so it's quite unfortunate. I didn't expect anything less from the last speaker, because we all know the political divide in Rivers State. Everybody will want to speak, to patronize his or his leader. But we are here to speak the truth. And the truth is that there was a restraining order from a court of competent jurisdiction, on the sole administrator from going further to appoint sole administrators, because that is completely alien. In the first place, sole administrator is completely alien to our constitution in the first place. It is completely alien. It has no place, there is nowhere in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, that we see where a sole administrator should go and take over a democratically elected government that is in place. On politics itself is a game of that there is no way there will be disagreement. In politics, we say we disagree to agree. It is a common thing in politics, and what was going on in Rivers State wasn't an exceptional case. It has happened in some other states. We've seen where the legislative and the executive had always had issues. But the one of Rivers State is very, very peculiar and very, very special, that we see measures that, were necessary being put in place that has completely truncated democracy as it is in Rivers State. First and foremost, the proclamation or the declaration by the president of the state of emergency in Rivers State came as a root shock to every one of us in Rivers State, not only in Rivers State, across the entire Nigeria, because we know circumstances and situations that should warrant that in the first place. We have seen, very serious and human life-threatening security situations that has happened in some other parts of the country. We have seen where President Jonathan, how he handled what we call a typical state of emergency. The state of emergency occurs in a state where the federal comes to assist the states in solving what that particular problem is. It does not mean that the democratically elected institution has to be dismantled. But be that as it is, Mr. President has taken his decision, has taken his stance. We are not going to question him because he's our leader. But the truth of the matter is, if the sole administrator's intention to Rivers State, as we were told, is to come and bring the peace, maybe bring the warring factions, see how we can find a solution to the political situation in the state as it is today. What we expected was, upon resumption of office, you try to interface with these parties. Maybe meet with the governor, discuss with him, hear his own side of the story, meet with the legislature, the assembly, hear from them, hear their own side of the story, meet with the other faction of the assembly too, that is with the governor, hear their own side of the story, and see how you can mediate and bring these people together. Every Rivers man and woman expected that this was the mission of the sole administrator. But we were equally surprised and amazed to see him dismantling every democratically elected and appointed institutions in the state. All the appointments, all the boards, all the parastatals, MDGs, everybody, all the appointment, everybody, were all dismissed by the sole administrator, thereby paralyzing activities of governance in Rivers State. And this took almost 2 weeks when he now came back to, give us more shocker by pronouncing sole administrators. And funny enough, has equally gone ahead to pronounce the appointment of a RISEC when there's a substantive RISEC that has a tenure of 4 years, before anything or anybody can tamper with them. That has been set aside, and a new RISEC has been appointed. The Local Government Service Commission has been appointed. Most of these institutions are people, commissions are people that has to go through screening by the assembly before they can function in a typical democratic, setting. But what we are seeing is completely different and not what Rivers people bargained for. My dear brother, who was making his narrative about the presidential proclamation on that brought about, that's channeled to bring about peace in the first instance when this whole issue started, made his narrative and did not include one of the clauses, which was every party should go and withdraw their cases. Every form of litigation, both from that of the governor's side and that of the assembly, should all be withdrawn. I would have loved to ask him if this particular case that the Supreme Court gave judgment on was not one of the cases that was instituted during that period, and why was it not withdrawn? It was when the governor discovered that having withdrawn all the cases, all the litigations that came from his end, and equally directed the lawyers not to go and show defense.
Okay, we seem to have lost connection with the Honorable.
The ones they instituted, and on with these are cases. That is the reason why the governor never had faith in the arrangement anymore and decided to pull out. Because in all honesty, if people have come together in the presence of Mr. President and have agreed on the thing, and the governor has done his own part, he has brought back all the commissioners that resigned, he has done everything and was ready to go and represent the budget, only to discover that something sinister was going on. It is normal. It's ordinary for every human being to sit back and ask, what is going on? Are we still on the same page or not? And discovering that, yes, he are not in the same page, he has been ambushed. He had to retrieve. And it's normal for everybody. Fast forward to the present situation that we have in Rivers State today. I can tell you for free that the entire Nigeria, not just Rivers people, because you see, when an antecedent is set like this, and everybody keep mute, it becomes a standard. The entire Nigerians have spoken against this. Everybody has aired their views on what their take is in the present situation in Rivers State. Mr. President will see him as a Democrat. And we believe that he is a father and that he has stepped in because he probably might have been privy to, informations, intelligence that we are not preview to.
Okay.
Let's what has happened in the
Sydney Gbara.
towards bringing a political or solving whatever situation that it is in Rivers State and not subjecting the state, taking the state backwards. This is a governance that was already on auto drive. Within a short period of the stay of the governor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Gbara. I would like to, Mr. Nwanosike to respond to some of those points you made. You said, Dr. Nwanosike, Honorable Gbara here said the sole administrator is doing more than what he was appointed to do. His primary mandate was to ensure peace returns to Rivers State, that is dismantling all democratic structures. He has terminated all appointments, and he's also terminated those of RCEC officials. How do you respond to all of this?
First of all, I want to put it on record that I know that News Central is a proper organization that is registered by CAC, and that you do your diligence before you come to the public. I want to challenge my brother and my friend who is on the other side to provide to you the order of court by the Federal High Court restraining the sole administrator from doing the appointment he did. That is one, because there is no such order existing anywhere. What happened was that people went to court to sue for an order, and the court declined and said, no, they're not going to grant any such order. We must put the other parties on notice that the matter will be adjourned to April 14th. April 14th is 3 hours from now, and the lawyers will be in court. He is aware, and I want you, when you make your due diligence and find out from your team, please do well to read to the people of Nigeria so that you can hold up to your reputation. You are a news station, and Nigerians are becoming attached to you. So it will be proper you always do your findings, don't allow politicians send stories to you. Secondly, is he talked about the issue of dismantling political structures. First of all, I want to tell every Nigerian here listening to me today that peace is not an event. Peace is a process, a program. You cannot place something on nothing and expect it to stand. Who are these persons that were these political office holders? People who did not appear before the assembly for screening. People who have not followed the due process of coming into public office and holding public funds. And if you have such people sitting there in offices that are not properly screened, nobody knows how they came into office. The governor is aware, the governor of Rivers State is aware that he swore an oath to uphold the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that the assembly is not living or existing on his weekend purposes. Assembly is an arm of government in our democracy. Like Mr. President said when we met in December with the governor, I, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was the governor of Lagos State. Because when this democracy came after the military rule, there was no official residence or official complex for Lagos House of Assembly. We had to provide a makeshift. My house was made available for them to use as their legislative center. Yet, I was the first to eat as the governor because the assembly requested to have their, what they call, freedom of activities. And that is why in Lagos State today, you can have a speaker that has stayed longer than every other speaker because his public wants it to be so. Going further to say, my friend is aware that I'm not here to just play to the gallery. As records, your station can verify to say, when we came back from the peace accord meeting in the villa, that the chief of staff, Edison himself, Tambari Sydney, and mounted the rostrum in front of government house entrance and called Mr. President all manner of names and dared him and warned him and even told the governor that he should be careful because they are the ones that voted for him. But they don't know what he's doing, and he must listen to the people of Rivers State, not to the president. So inform him, maybe he has forgotten. In the 8-point agenda, the most important point was withdrawing the impeachment notice, and that was done less than 24 hours by the House of Assembly as now we came back from the villa. What did the governor then do? The governor immediately went and empowered the permanent secretaries of those ministries, which the commissioners resigned, and decided to give the assignment and authority to the permanent secretaries and made the commissioners redundant. That was what led to the resignation of these commissioners the second time. Nigerians need to know this truth. And Mr. Tambari Sydney, my first thing, that they would want to tell Nigerians that in a constitutional democracy, that a man will become an attorney general without appearing before a properly constituted house. Riverted has 32 seats. One of our constituency members that wins from his own House of Assembly constituency, right? He became 31. And out of 31, 4 were impeached on the 30th of October 2023. They are Right Honorable here, Adon Force of Opoponkoro, that's the governor's constituency, Debone, House of Assembly, Okojombo, and that of Auda West, was the young man's name. 4 of them were impeached because of the activities trying to impeach the Speaker of the House of Assembly, Mr Samuel Nwanosike. And that was what led to them going to burn down the House of Assembly because they were invading that impeachment. The governor didn't hide it. The governor led the protest to stop the assembly, who decided to use a makeshift hall in the complex, having seen that the chambers had been set ablaze because they had the quorum, they had the mace, they had the clerk, they had to continue the legislative business. What happened? The governor made a march to try to stop them, but the commissioner of police then tried to barricade him, gave an opportunity for the assembly members to leave the premises to avoid bloodshed. And this same governor is always being touted as being peaceful. Meanwhile, the entire crisis and criminality happening in River State is being coordinated and sponsored by himself.
Well, these are
Edison Ehie, the deputy for staff,
Mr. Nwanosike,
who believes that they are from a just stop, and that because they're from a just stop, they control the oil facilities in River State, that if nobody listens to them, they will blow all the oil pipes.
Mr. Nwanosike, these are strong allegations. Mr. Nwanosike, sorry to butt in, but these are strong allegations being made on this platform, and
there are no allegations. There are things that are
there's no proof, and the governor is not here to defend himself.
He said before competent court of jurisdiction, and even the Supreme Court in his judgment. Go and read the certified copy of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court agreed with our lawyers that the Fubara and his chief of staff here won't stand the House of Assembly.
But the chief of staff has come out to deny that. I hope you also saw that he's come out to deny that and said he was offered 5 billion naira.
Excuse me, sir. The chief of staff did not deny anything. The chief of staff was just on television and internet. I even came on television to ask vital questions. On one bet, the chief of staff said he did not have access to go into the assembly, only the speaker. That he is aware that the speaker went to the House of Assembly, and after the speaker left, the House of Assembly came on fire. And the question you ask, like the parents presenter asked him, on whose benefit would the House of Assembly burning be? Is it for the House Assembly, Pet Assembly, or for the governor? Again, the question, the editor here didn't answer is that how come Judge Wake, who you claim was not close to you, is seen on all the viral videos, is seen on all the issues, and you on that same show agree that Judge Wake sent him a message telling him he wants to see him urgently, that he has new ideas on how to tackle these persons that have been disturbing the state. So those deniers are, they are funny because you cannot speak from two sides of your mouth and take your time to fool Nigeria.
Okay, all right, let's
keep quiet, all these news.
All right, Mr. Nwanosike, sorry to butt in.
The State High Court and come to the Supreme Court. The Chief of Staff never made any statement.
All right, because of our time constraint, someone has spoken and he's shared his own thoughts. We'd like to show you what he said, and then we'll come back to you, Mr. Tambari Sydney Gbara, to react to this video. Let's take a look at a video that shows the former governor, that George, speaking tough concerning this current crisis.
Would have probably made a palliative statement, but we are saying, I am saying, I'm not that Wike is the architect of all these things. He has watched, Mr. President has traveled and is not back. He is now swept dead, heaps of death, piled up somewhere, waiting for Mr. President to come and clear. Him and all those that are alleged are supporting him, whether in the presidency or in the National Assembly, the Senate, or the House of Rep. We are pleading with them that we will continue to highlight the actions and activities of Wike from now. He should not continue to precipitate crisis. He knew probably the military administrator had invited some people for peaceful resolution discussions. He went in. He was reported to have been here on the 7th, Monday evening, traversing the whole place, visiting the military administrator. Then the following day, this announcement came through. So he is I'm holding him responsible for all the crises.
And that's a clip of the former governor of River State, Rufus Adajor. We'll have you, Honorable Tambari Sydney Gbara, to first react to that, and then we can, as quickly as we can, take a few words as well from Mr. Nwanosike.
What we have noticed, or the stock in trade of my friend and his group, is feeding the public with false information. So much so that they gave the president impression as if the River State House of Assembly that was demolished was done based on an vendetta against the assembly. But we all know that any building that has had incident of fire will definitely have a technical default. And it was on this premise that the governor decided to demolish that part, that section of the assembly where the fire gutted, and so that it can be rebuilt. They equally made the whole world and the president believe that those structures were demolished and nothing were done in that regard in order to keep the legislative arm of government out of function. But I'm very, very happy that it was the sole administrator himself on the spot assessment to the assembly complex site that made Nigerians understand that that facility or that structure is 80% completion, at 80% completion level. That is to show you that the governor acted in good faith and was not trying to get at anybody. What are we talking about here? The concern that has been expressed by the former governor, yes, every Rivers person is concerned about this situation. We are all Rivers people. There's nowhere we will go to. The sole administrator is not from Rivers State. To begin to know the names of those he will shortlist in different local governments to become sole administrators, or those that will be written in different appointments. Ordinarily, what the people expected him to say, and I still stand on this, is when you come in and you have made your broadcast, my mission here is to come and make the peace. There were no crises on the street of Port Harcourt, neither in any part of Rivers State. The story of blowing off pipelines, everybody saw it. Some of the television stations went to that Trans-Niger Delta line where was purportedly alleged to have been blown up, and they saw that there was no damage, nothing was done there. It was all, fabricated stories on social media. These days technology will make you do. Even there were insinuations that even the Port Harcourt refinery was on fire that same day. There was nothing they didn't do, no manner of antics that were not deployed just to deceive, Mr. President, to give him the wrong impression about the state of the affairs of Rivers State. What we expected the sole administrator to do, like I said earlier, is suddenly meet with these factions. If he has done that, Rivers people will be happy. We'll be waiting patiently to see what the outcome is. But it has not been done, and you begin to see the democratic structures that were around in the state that were moving on well. This is a state government that has run from within the time of inception up to today. Has commissioned 57 projects without borrowing any money. And as of today, when the governor left in the treasury, we have 264 billion naira in the state treasury. And you just come and then put everything at a pause, and then you expect the people were already enjoying the governance. And that is the concern of the people. Let the governance, what the democratic structure what we had on ground, let it continue so that the people will continue to reap the dividends of democracy. Within the period the sole administrator came, and today, Rivers people have been surcharged of that common right of theirs of benefiting from the dividends of democracy. That is
All
the
right.
concern of everybody. Nobody is trying to, reach out anybody or try to do whatever. But the idea is, just as every other states are moving on, let Rivers State equally move on. Let the citizens enjoy the dividends of democracy, which is what they voted for.
All right,
what their right is.
to.
And so therefore,
We
I
have
want
to
to use
move
this
on now.
medium to call on Mr. President to please listen to the plea of Nigerians and that of Rivers people.
All right, Honorable Sydney Gbara, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Mr. Nwanosike, we have 30 seconds to wrap up this interview. Let's get your thoughts as well. Your final thoughts on this subject
30
matter.
seconds, please.
Unfair for you to give me 30 seconds.
Sir, you
very,
did have
very,
a-
very unfair.
you did have a
Hold
long
on.
speaking
It's
bandwidth.
very unfair for you to say you're giving me 30 seconds.
Mr.
But I agree with you because it's your platform. But let me be on record to Nigerians and let me say it clearly. That these same threats by this former governor, Rufus the judge, and his cohort is what brought us to this place. This same Rufus the judge, who had stopped having security reports since he left Rivers State government, is now back to threats and telling stories that never existed. Let me put on record that the Minister of FCT visited Port Harcourt, one of those that received him at the airport. He didn't even stop at his house. He went straight to Senator Ibok-Ete's place, who was doing a housewarming after he came back from his medical trip abroad. And from there, Mr. Former Governor Ikwerre proceeded back to the airport and flew out of this country. And it's a shame to see our leaders lie to the public because it's what they have fed them. This lie is what has brought us to where we are. And let me also say clearly, I don't say things that you cannot investigate. For us, Mr. President is even doing the governor too much good. This is the first time he's doing him a good. We would have allowed Mr. President to pleaded Mr. President to allow the democratic processes go through. Let the impeachments that have been served on the governor read, let the judiciary do their process, and let's see if the governor has the capacity to stop the assembly from implementing the constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Listening to Sydney Gbara, there is no atom of regrets in their action, spending Rivers funds for a whole 2024 from January to December 1st without an appropriation, telling us that democracy is only as they decided to be, that is not by rule of law, telling us that justice has no place in Rivers State, that we should keep quiet and allow Sydney Gbara, who declared a commissioner without doing proper screening.
All right, we have to interject at this point now.
Without any proper
Mr. Nwanosike, unfortunately, we'll have to interject at this point. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. We hope to extend a further invitation for you both to join us. And we're counting down to the 14th of April to get final feedback on the substantive matter you've referred to, Mr. Nwanosike. Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel Nwanosike, and as well as Honorable Tambari Sydney Gbara. Do have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.